Early one morning in Dagenham, Essex, a vet nurse was walking to work. The same route she always takes, same quiet stretch of road. But that day, something caught her eye. A suitcase, just sitting there on the side of the road. Nothing flashy, no broken zips or obvious damage, but something about it felt off. Maybe it was the way it had been placed. Not tossed, not dumped, more like it had been left. But when she got closer, she realized the suitcase wasn't just sitting there. It was moving. She unzipped it and found 15 kittens packed inside. They were tiny, some barely old enough to open their eyes, crammed into that space like someone had run out of time or run out of options. This is the true story of the Suitcase Kittens, how 15 newborns were abandoned in the most unimaginable way, and how, against the odds, they were given a second chance. It was a normal Saturday morning, the kind of morning where your brain's still in autopilot and you're not expecting anything unusual. But for this vet nurse, who just happened to be in the right place at the right time, everything changed. As she got closer to the suitcase, she noticed it had tiny air holes poked into the fabric, just enough to let something inside breathe. That's when alarm bells started ringing. She unzipped it. Inside, the 15 kittens were huddled together, meowing softly, squinting up at the light. Their fur was matted. Some of them were trembling, and all of them were far too young to be on their own. But somehow, they were all still alive. They were estimated to be between 3 and 5 weeks old. For context, that's about the age where kittens are just starting to explore, just beginning to wean off their mother's milk. These ones, they were supposed to be curled up in a safe and cozy place, nursing and sleeping, not fighting for air inside a suitcase on the side of the road. The nurse scooped them up and took them straight to Vets for Pets in Dagenham, the nearest clinic. There was no time to waste. Yes, they were breathing, but these kittens were in no shape to be without their mom, let alone crammed together in the dark with no food, no warmth, and no idea what was happening. 6 of them had visible eye infections, the kind that, if left untreated, can lead to permanent damage or blindness. Others were showing early signs of dehydration and stress. Some were crying, while others were too weak to make much sound at all. The clinic team worked quickly, cleaning them up, checking vitals, starting treatment. But there was another detail that made the situation even more complicated. They weren't all from the same litter. Staff believed the 15 kittens had come from at least 3, possibly 4 different mothers, which suggested something deeper than just one accidental litter gone wrong. This looked more like long-term neglect, like someone had been sitting on a growing problem for weeks, maybe months, and finally reached a breaking point. There's another part of this story that raises questions, and it's where things get a bit eerie. That vet nurse who found them, she wasn't just any passerby. She lived nearby, and in the local community, she was well known for working with animals. So whoever left the suitcase, they didn't leave it by accident. They left it there, on purpose, right near her home, almost like they were counting on her to find it. That doesn't excuse what happened, not even close, but it does hint at something more complex. This wasn't someone tossing a box of kittens in a random alley. This was someone who knew enough to make air holes. Someone who placed the case carefully. Someone who may have known they were doing the wrong thing, but hoped someone else would do the right thing. And in this case, someone did. After their initial treatment at the vet clinic, the kittens were transferred to the Hornchurch and District branch of Cats Protection, a charity that's been around for nearly a century, and one that's no stranger to tough rescues. Allison Gambles, their welfare and homing officer, was one of the first to see the kittens up close. She later said, Although they were all alive and in fairly good condition, they were clearly far too young to be away from their mothers. And that caused an even bigger challenge. These weren't ready for adoption kittens. These were babies. They needed round-the-clock care, bottle feeding every few hours, constant monitoring, and help learning how to socialize. And here's something most people don't think about. When a group of tiny, vulnerable kittens like this shows up, they get attention. They get adopters lining up. They tug at hearts, and they usually don't wait long for homes. But while that's great for them, it can make things harder for all the other cats already in care. Young adult cats, the ones that are a year or two old, already spayed and neutered, calm, affectionate, totally ready for a new home. They often get overlooked. People walk past them because their eyes are on the kittens. Allison put it simply, what's more of a challenge is that many people find kittens a lot more desirable. So the many young adult cats we have in our care will now wait longer to find a new home. This isn't just about rescuing kittens, it's about the knock-on effects. Every action ripples. Head vet Deborah Teo, who helped treat the kittens, was blunt about it. We are pleading with all cat owners to have both male and female cats and kittens neutered. The current situation could so easily have been averted. This isn't a one-time story. It's part of a much bigger problem happening everywhere, from city shelters to small rural rescues. Overbreeding. Backyard litters. People who don't spay or neuter their pets because they think they'll just deal with it later. And later ends up being a suitcase. So, what happened next? All 15 kittens are now safe. They're being cared for by staff and volunteers at Cats Protection. They're growing stronger every day, learning to play, building trust, and slowly becoming the cats they were always meant to be. They'll be adopted when they're old enough, and thankfully, the rescue already has loving homes lined up for each of them. But this could have gone another way. If that vet nurse hadn't walked by when she did, if the kittens hadn't had air holes, if the night before had been colder, we'd be telling a very different story right now. But they survived, and not because someone planned it well. They survived because someone else happened to care. And soon, they'll all be in loving homes. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, or better yet, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you've ever rescued a cat, or been rescued by one, drop your story in the comments. We read every single one. See you in the next one.